Yes, welcome teachers to the program, Teaching Talk with Mr. Fong. So, in this program, we will discuss the question of how to transition from the role of knowledge transmitter to the role of guiding students' thinking. Right. So, first of all, in the AI era, to be able to transition from the role of knowledge transmitter to guiding thinking, teachers need to change one fundamental thing, which is that we shouldn't see our main task as telling students as much as possible, but rather see our main task as helping students know how to think about what they are learning. Right. In the past, when information was still hard to access, teachers were the keepers and transmitters of knowledge, right? But today, students only need a few seconds to ask AI and receive a very complete answer. So if teachers still teach the old way, meaning talking continuously, explaining in detail, right, and then giving clear answers, it's very easy to fall into a situation where we compete with technology in the very area where it is strongest, right? Therefore, what teachers need to do is not to talk more than AI, but rather we need to ask better questions than AI. A good classroom in this era is not a classroom where the teacher answers everything very quickly, but it's a classroom where students will need to be guided into questions that make them observe, reason, explain, and re-examine their own thinking. Now, let me give you an example like this. Right, that is when, if instead of us telling students that a tree needs suitable conditions to grow, right, then the teacher can set up a very relatable situation, which is, if we have two potted plants that are watered the same way, but one pot is lush and green while the other one gradually withers, what do you think the cause is? Right. Then the teacher can ask further. So how do you know if the cause lies in the light, the water, or the placement of the tree? Right. If you could only change one factor to test, what would you change first? Right. Then students won't just hear a pre-made conclusion, right? But they will learn how to look at the problem, right? Learn how to form hypotheses and verify their own thinking. And that is exactly the spirit of teaching less, asking deeper questions, and observing more. So teachers don't need to rush to explain everything from the beginning anymore, right? Instead, teachers, please create a situation that is just close enough, just real enough to make students think. For example, a teacher could ask, if we put 2 cups of ice water in 2 different locations, one cup near a sunny window and the other cup in a cool spot inside the room, so in your opinion, which cup will melt faster? Right. Why? Right? After that, we can ask further. Teachers guide thinking. AI explains skill. Why stay clean? Why eat healthy? But it's the teacher who helps students understand more deeply. For example, if there's a class where many students don't keep their hands and feet clean, what would happen? Why can a small habit affect so many people around us? If you wanted to convince the little ones at home to form this habit, what would you say to get them to follow it? That's how we'd ask those kinds of questions. And then the lesson is no longer just dry information. It becomes an awareness that's tied to their lives and their responsibilities. And in this AI era, teachers shouldn't ban students from using AI. Instead, we need to teach them how to use AI responsibly and critically. Students can use artificial intelligence, or AI, to obtain an initial answer. But after that, we really need to ask them to keep thinking about it, right? For instance, if a student asks AI why the sky is blue, the teacher won't just stop it whether or not to allow AI. Instead, the teacher might say, okay, you can look up why the sky is blue on AI, but then explain it in your own words, like you're talking to a small child. So, in that AI answer, which parts do you find vague? Can you find an image or a real-life situation to help make it easier for others to understand? And then, students aren't just passively consuming answers, they're forced to transform information into their own understanding. So another very important change is the way we assess. And if we only look at the final product, it can be very hard for a teacher to tell if a student truly understands or is just repeating what they found. So we also need short, direct check-ins to tap into the thinking process. Let me give you an example. Like after students observe a glass of water that's been sitting out and has evaporated a bit. The teacher could ask, for example, before you actually observed it, what did you originally think was going to happen? Did the actual result match your prediction? And if you did it again, would you change any factors to see if the result is different? Which part of your explanation are you still unsure about? Those very questions help the teacher see the student's true understanding. Instead of just seeing an answer that sounds right, we should ask questions like that. In short, what is it? It's about shifting from the process of delivering knowledge to guiding thought. So it's not that we should teach less, but rather teach in a way that forces students to think more. Teachers shouldn't just help students know that something is right. We need to help them understand why it's right, and how to verify it, how to check why it's right, and how to teach them to apply it in their lives. And in this age of AI, when information can be accessed almost instantly, but skills like keen observation, asking insightful questions, independent thinking, and cognitive maturity still require a teacher. And that is the deepest value of teaching today. What do you think about this perspective? Let's share your thoughts in the comments so we can discuss it further. See y'all in the next video.